Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I am back with another new foundation review and wear test, and today we're going to be trying out the new Huda Beauty Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. So this just came out. This is available now at Sephora and on Huda's website. This does retail for $37 US or 50 Canadian. And you do get 1 fluid ounce, so it's pretty standard. I did pick up the shade Vanilla 120B. This is the exact same shade that I am in their stick foundation that I don't like, but this is described as being for fair skin with pinky beige undertones, which is perfect for me. This is supposed to have a medium coverage, a natural finish, and also contain niacinamide, which is supposed to be amazing for hydration. This is described as a lightweight, medium to buildable coverage foundation that's non-comedogenic and ultra blurring for an airbrushed finish. And it does say that you can apply with a brush or with fingers. I am seeing on Sephora that this has 29 shades. So she did also launch a primer with this. I did not pick up the primer because I tend to just like what I like when it comes to primers, and that tends to be the Refer Intense Hydration Cream or the Dior Star Filter. I really don't like to try a ton of primers. So let me pin the hair back, zoom you in, and we will get to putting this on the face. So this does say to apply with your fingers or a brush. I hate applying my foundations with my fingers, so I am going to be using a brush today, and this is what it looks like. So it's just a really little squeeze tube, which I think is nice. I have nothing against a squeeze tube. I forgot to mention this is also made in Italy and has an 18-month shelf life, so all very good signs. It does say to shake well, so I'm doing that as well. It is currently 10 a.m. so I am going to try to get a solid 10 hours out of this one today, maybe a little bit longer if I'm up to it. So I just squeezed this out and we can see it is pretty liquidy. I don't think it's as liquidy as the new Patrick Ta foundation, and that is one of the ones I've tried more recently, so that's just coming to mind. I'm going in with my BK Beauty 101 brush, and we can see my skin is acting up at the moment, so I think that actually will help with testing out the coverage. So I did just prep my skin with my Refer Intense Hydration Cream, and I have nothing else. So, okay, the shade might be a little bit light, which is strange because it matched me perfectly fine in the stick foundation, but that's okay. I can make it work. It's not so light that I can't make it work. I think it'll definitely match my neck pretty well. I go through phases where I'm so good at shade matching myself online, and then I go through phases where I couldn't get the right shade to save my life, you know? Okay. This is blending out really, really quickly, and it does seem to be giving me a pretty nice coverage level as well. And another reason I didn't grab the primer, in addition to I just knew I wouldn't get enough use out of it, is just simply that I don't think I should have to buy the primer that comes with it. I think it should just be good on its own. So for me, that is also a selling point. I want to make sure that this is going to perform with the stuff that I already have and like. Okay, this does actually look really nice, so you can see with and without. So I will say, I do think the shade is a tiny bit light, but I do think it works for me, especially going into the winter when I lose any and all color that my skin may have gotten. But you can see it gave me a really nice coverage level. I think it's a really nice medium coverage. It definitely feels lightweight. There's a slight tackiness when I touch it, but it's not too much. I don't feel like it's going to transfer everywhere like some foundations I've tried recently. I just want to see if maybe I can build a little bit on that cheek. Okay, so I do think that looks pretty nice. So one thing I'm noticing is when I initially put it on, especially around here, it looks a little bit dry, but then as it sits and kind of sinks into my skin, it doesn't look dry anymore. I don't think it's blurring, at least not on its own. And from what I can see so far, I really don't see the blurring quality, but I do think it looks super nice. And it feels very, very comfortable and very lightweight. It doesn't feel like I have anything on my skin. It doesn't even feel like I have a heavy moisturizer. It just doesn't really feel like anything, which I love. I love something that is super lightweight, but that also gets rid of everything I want to hide. I shouldn't really say things I want to hide, but it definitely covers everything up, which makes me happy. It's interesting how when it first goes on, it looks dry, but then just ends up looking really, really nice. It definitely is too light though. That's becoming a little bit more apparent. I feel like now it's had a second to kind of sit on the skin, and it does just look really nice. I'm just going in with a mini of the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Concealer. I'm using the shade Birch, and kind of the reason I'm using this one is because the shade is also a bit light, so it will work well with this foundation. I definitely don't find this foundation to be overly blurring. Maybe that is something you have to get from the primer. It does recommend you use it with the primer, but again, I don't want to have to buy a primer to make a foundation work. I just want it to work on its own or with products I already have. I do have the Cali Ray Blurring Primer in my collection. I probably should have used that today as well, so I could kind of test the blurring properties of it, but I just want to see if maybe I can add a little bit more right in the center of my face. Okay, so it's looking pretty nice so far. I do want to go in with my Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom Cake Loose Powder. So this is a very pink shade, but it does look really, really nice, especially under the eyes. But this is one that I can also dust on other areas of my face too. Okay, I'm just going to pat out that concealer. Shoot, that powder is really good. It definitely did blur everything, definitely mattified as well. I was scared of this powder for so long because I thought that's gonna be way too heavy for my dry skin, but it's actually really, really nice. All right, let me quickly pop off camera, pop on the rest of my makeup, and I will be back to get the wear test started. All right, so the rest of the makeup is on, and I just kept it very, very simple for today. And I actually really do like how my skin looks. I like how it is matte, but has a really nice coverage level. Again, the shade is definitely too light, but I was able to sort of make it work, adding in bronzer, blush. It seems to match the rest of me now, so that's a good sign. I so far really like this. It's very interesting to me because when I first put it on, it does look really, really dry. But then, like I said, as it sits on the skin, it just looks really nice, very skin-like, very natural. So I just find that very, very interesting. So I think if you are grabbing this one for the first time, don't panic. If it looks dry on your skin, just give it a second because it will end up looking pretty nice. But overall, I really like the coverage level. I like that it's a little bit more matte as opposed to all of the glowy foundations we've had lately. The coverage level is really, really nice. Definitely perfected the skin. I did have to go in and do a little bit of spot concealing, but it wasn't much. As for blurring, I didn't really find it blurring on its own, perhaps over top of the primer that is marketed to go with this, but once I added in the Easy Bake powder, definitely blurred and perfected everything. It definitely mattified everything as well. So far these two are a really, really good combo. But like I said, I really like how my makeup looks right now. I'm gonna go about the rest of my day and I will try to wear this for about 10 hours and come back to give you my final thoughts. All right, so just stepping outside to show you what this looks like in natural lighting. I feel like it is looking a bit dry. It's definitely very matte. As for texture, I don't really think it's blurring texture much at all. I think the powder did the most amount of blurring. I can still see a lot around here. I do think it looks a little bit dry, but not overly so. It really just looks matte, and I think I'm a little bit confused seeing the matte foundation because we've just been getting these more glowy or radiant finishes for so long that I think I'm just throwing myself off a little bit with the matte finish. I do really like it though. It is still feeling super lightweight. It doesn't feel like I have anything on my skin, and so far I'm really liking it. All right, so we have reached the end of the day, and so far I think I really like this. Again, I do think the shade is definitely too light, which is kind of interesting, but I have really liked how this wore all day. So I am not getting glowy anywhere. This has definitely stayed very matte, but it's not an uncomfortable matte. I don't think the foundation on its own did much to blur. I do think it might do a nice job with a blurring primer. Again, I did not purchase the primer that was released with this because I just don't feel like you should have to buy both. I feel like the foundation should just look great on its own. As for looking airbrushed, I don't necessarily know that it looks airbrushed, but it does look really nice on the skin. It did blend out very, very quickly. We've been wearing this for about 9.5 to 10 hours at this point, so it still looks really good. It is still completely intact. I don't have any oils coming through, and it still feels very, very comfortable. It's not one of those foundations that is uncomfortably matte, uncomfortably dry, or that I can even just feel on my face because I can't. And to touch my skin, it doesn't even feel tacky. I did find when I was on the phone earlier that some of the foundation definitely did come off on my phone. I gave my husband a hug and I definitely saw some of the foundation there as well. So it's definitely not one that is transfer proof. And I do think this might look nice over a blurring primer, specifically maybe the Cali Right blurring primer. I think that would look nice. When you do first blend this out, it does initially look a little bit dry. At least on my skin, it looked a little bit dry initially, but after a few seconds, it somehow just sort of melted into the skin and ended up looking really, really nice. So again, it's just very lightweight, incredibly easy to blend. I absolutely love, love, love the coverage level that I got from this. So I'm overall pretty happy. So even though I am a dry skin type, I am still a little bit tired of all of the super dewy foundation options. I do love the idea of a matte foundation, but that being said, it is quite hard as a dry skin type to find a matte foundation that isn't going to cling to all your dry patches, feel super heavy, or just make you look parched. Whereas this doesn't do any of that. This might be one of very few foundations I've ever found that is matte but suitable for my dry skin. So I am very impressed with that, and again, I do love the coverage level. I don't think it's the most blurring, but with a blurring primer, maybe adding in the Easy Bake powder definitely helped. I can still see pores, but that doesn't really bother me, and I'm not even getting any oils breaking through. I do think oily skin types might really, really like this, but my dry skin likes it too. So, I mean, this could be a really nice universal type foundation. So I'm feeling really, really good about this one. It's got all the things I want, super quick to blend, medium coverage, buildable, very lightweight, very comfortable, and doesn't enhance my dryness. So I am feeling really, really good about today's wear test. I really like this foundation. I don't really know what I was expecting. The only other foundation I've tried from Huda is the stick foundation that I do not like because that one is heavy and does cling to dry patches. Her other liquid foundation I've heard is very heavy, so I never bothered to try it. But this is none of the bad things, all of the good things. I just don't think it's necessarily very blurring. But that is it for me today. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Have you tried this one out yet? On the day that I'm filming this, I actually did see a sneak peek on Instagram that One Size is coming out with a liquid foundation, which I'm excited about. I do not like the foundation that they currently have, the BBB cream. That does not work for my skin type, but I'm really excited to see what a new one can do. I feel like we're going through a massive influx of foundations. This doesn't normally happen until the beginning of the year, but I'm excited for it. So that is it for me today. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. I love hearing from you guys so much. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!